Today I have something incredibly exciting for you, a sneak peek at one of the lessons in my online drum school, DBO Academy. So let's dive right in. In this lesson, you are going to learn one trick that will change the way that you play your hi-hat forever. So let's jump into it. When it comes to playing the hi-hat, there is one trick that is my absolute favorite thing to do. It's changed the way that I've played the hi-hat, and I think it will change the way that you play it too. And I call it the flick trick. So generally we play our hi-hat with our dominant hand. For me, that's my right hand, right? And we have it crossed. With the flick trick, we are sneakily using your weak hand, and it comes under your dominant hand to hit the hi-hat. So with just a very, very small motion with your weak hand, you can get an extra note on your hi-hat basically whenever you want. This can enhance the efficiency, the creativity, the look, feel, and sound of your hi-hat groove. So let me show you what it sounds like real quick. So the easiest way to get started with a flick trick on the hi-hat is simply by adding one note at the end of any groove. So if you're playing eighth notes on the hi-hat, you could simply come up for a flick trick on the of beat 4, and it just pulls the beat together. It adds a little extra texture, spice, whatever word you want to use for it. I think it sounds really cool. So here's a simple example of what that would look like. Now what's so cool about this is how practical it is. You can add this into any of your existing grooves and it instantly sounds better, more creative, and like there's more going on with the hi-hat because there is. So I'd encourage you to just throw this in at the end of any of your existing grooves. It's going to help it sound more creative. But now let's address some of the naysayers. Before we get into the naysayers, like I said, this lesson is from a course called Hi-Hat Creativity Level 2 that's found on my online drum school, DBO Academy. Now more than ever, people are getting thrown millions of drum lessons their way, which can leave you feeling really overwhelmed, confused, and not knowing what to practice next on the drum kit. But when you join DBO Academy, you take a placement quiz that analyzes exactly where you're at in your drumming and puts you on a guided lesson path that helps you take your drumming to the next level fast. If you want instant access to this course plus many others, our monthly live lessons, all formulated in your own drumming path, well then click right up here to get instant access to DBO Academy and take your drumming to the next level. But now, let's see what those naysayers are saying. Now, some people have brought up in the past, Gabe, why don't you just bring your weak hand around to the other side of the hi-hat? And that's a good question, right? You can basically do the same thing, but there are multiple problems with this. There's a lot more movement that goes along with that, and my weak hand ends up clicking the stick on the way over, and that can be a hazard of dropping your stick or just messing up your groove in general. The second reason is it's actually a different sound. The flick trick actually is almost like a ghost note on the hi-hat because you're just catching the edge of the hi-hat. But when you bring your weak hand over, you're just repeating the same hi-hat sound that you are getting with your dominant hand, which is fine, but I actually kind of like that ghost note feel to the hi-hat. It adds more texture there. And finally, the third reason is it's more efficient. If you are doing ghost notes in between your hi-hat notes, your weak hand is all in one spot. It's not moving from over here and then having to come back to your snare drum. It's really just making a small motion and then it does whatever it needs to do on the snare drum all in one spot. And the fourth reason is it looks cool, but that's not the main reason. That's just an added bonus. So now let me show you the ultimate flick trick beat. Let's jump into it. So this beat is 2 measures long, but let's just focus on measure number 1 first. We're starting off super easy by just adding a kick drum and an open hi-hat on beats 1 and 2, and that is it. From there, we are coming down with a closed hi-hat and a snare drum on beat 3, and that is where things start to get flicky. Okay, but in all seriousness, at the end, we're going to add in 2 flicks. It's going to be on the of beat 3 and the of beat number 4. So imagine you're just playing eighth notes with your dominant hand, 3, and a 4 and a. And you're just sneaking in those uhs with your weak hand. Then in measure number 2, you're just playing consistent eighth notes with your dominant hand, and you're just adding in 1 flick on the E of beat 2. So 1 and 2 E and. Then we are just adding in 3 ghost notes at the end of the groove. If you would like, you don't have to start off this way, but you can build to it. And that's to show you how you can incorporate flicks and still play ghost notes pretty darn easily. So now let's put it all together and hear what it sounds like. All right, we're taking it even a step further and learning a concept called the double plus flick. And it's exactly as the title suggests. You are playing a double on the hi-hat, 1, 2 with your dominant hand, and then a flick with your weak hand. 1, 2, flick. So this traditionally sounds good as 16th note triplets, and in this groove, we're just going to sneak it in at the very end. So we're just gonna be playing eighth notes on the hi-hat, snare drum on beat 3, just simply 2 kick drum notes. And then we are just gonna add in those 2 notes with the dominant hand and then an with the flick. Then you're gonna come right back down on beat number 1 of the next measure. I think this sounds really cool right before a downbeat. So here's what that sounds like. If you're having a hard time with this double plus flick trick and getting it up to speed, it could be that you need to work on your doubles a little bit more, which is why I created this video right here that helps you improve your hand speed in just 30 days. And if you want instant access to this hi-hat creativity course, as well as many others, you can join DBO Academy right up here and take your drumming to the next level quickly. Thanks for watching this lesson. Stay true.